The Age of the Primes continues. This episode we're once again heading into the distant past of Cybertron for a look at another of the original Transformers. These are the basics on the tragic story of SOLUS Prime. SOLUS Prime was an original character created and developed by Hasbro designer Aaron Archer and the staff of the company's HasLab creative division in the late 2000s, as part of the new mythology they were putting together for the Transformers universe. In this story, Solus was one of a group of 13 divine warriors known as the Primes, the first Transformers, created at the dawn of time by the god of light, Primus, to aid him in his battle against his evil brother, the dark god, Unicron. Like Pandora, the first woman in Greek mythology, Solus was the first female Transformer, the ancestor of all modern-day female Cybertronians, and as such, an early working name for the character was Pandora Prime. The mythology HasLab created served as the foundation of the Aligned Continuity, a multimedia project of interconnected series and stories that ran throughout the 2010s. Solus herself first appeared in a flashback in the 2011 Transformers Prime episode, One Shall Rise Part 1. More information about her was provided by the novel Exiles, released a few days later, and her full story was then told in the 2013 guidebook, The Covenant of Primus. As detailed in the Covenant, Solus was the fourth of the Primes created, and the only female member of the group. She was a calm, confident bot, beloved by her siblings for her intelligent and supportive nature. But she was also stubborn and easily angered by injustice. Solus was the Cybertronian answer to the Greek god Hephaestus. She was the blacksmith of the Primes, an artisan and craftswoman beyond compare, designing weapons and tools with a holographic lathe she projected from her body, and crafting them with her mystically powered forging hammer, known in legend as the Forge of Solus Prime. Solus used her abilities to fashion signature artifacts of incredible otherworldly power for her brothers, but her mightiest creation was for Megatronus, the 12th Prime, who requested that she make him a gun able to channel the power of suns. Solus was initially reluctant, fearing that a weapon so powerful could only corrupt its wielder, but trusting in Megatronus, she ultimately agreed and built for him the Requiem Blaster. With the power of the blaster on their side, the Primes were able to defeat Unicron, and in the peace that followed, Solus and Megatronus fell in love. In time, however, the lovers fell prey to the schemes of their wicked brother, Liege Maximo, who sought to turn the Primes against one another for his own evil ends. Planting seeds of distrust, Maximo manipulated Solus and Megatronus into an argument, during which Solus demanded Megatronus return the Requiem Blaster to her, since with Unicron defeated, there was no longer a need for it. Enraged by this implied lack of trust, Megatronus refused, and the argument escalated into a physical fight, until, in the heat of the moment, unthinking, Megatronus fired the blaster, killing Solus with the very weapon she had created. Inexplicably, Solus's spilled blood reacted with the surface of Cybertron, and her body melted into the planet, carving a huge pit all the way to its core. Solus's death shattered the Primes' brotherhood, and they fell to violent, destructive infighting. Those who survived, shamed by their actions, decided that their time as stewards of Cybertron was over, and chose to open the way for a new race of beings to take their place. Combining their talents, powers, and artifacts, they turned the pit left by Solus's passing into the Well of All Sparks, a font of life through which Primus gave birth to the Transformer race. Every Cybertronian that emerged from the well was patterned after one or more of the Primes. Those born of Solus's pattern became the female Transformers of today. Check out The Basics on Female Transformers if you want a more detailed look at the workings of Cybertronian gender. though she was no more, Solus's influence was still felt in other stories. Exiles saw the Autobots and Decepticons hunting on alien worlds for lost weapons Solus had created, while Transformers Prime showed what became of her forge, hidden away by her brother Prime, Alpha Trion, who eventually sent it to Earth to aid the Autobots battling there. After the last vestiges of its power of creation were used up, the forge was wielded by Autobot Ultra Magnus as a conventional warhammer, and several toys of the character included the relic as an accessory. Following its introduction by the aligned continuity, the story of the Primes has become a cornerstone of Transformers lore, reflected in virtually every series produced since, which have each reinterpreted the legend of Solus and her brothers in their own unique way. For instance, in the version of the story seen in 2018's Power of the Primes cartoon, Solus's death was caused when the Requiem blaster accidentally went off when she and Megatronus were wrestling over it. Racked with guilt over the death of his love, Megatronus began an insane plan to resurrect Solus, combining the powers of the artifacts of the Primes to restore her to life by draining the sparks of the entire Cybertronian race. But Solus didn't want to live at the expense of others, and when an allied team of Autobots and Decepticons foiled Megatronus' plan, Solus's spirit dragged Megatronus into the afterlife with her. The Power of the Primes toy line, meanwhile, told a different story to the cartoon, presenting a world in which the sparks of the Primes were reborn in tiny robots known as Prime Masters. These robots could grant the powers of the Primes to other Transformers, a gimmick represented by the figures transforming into Spark mode and plugging into the larger toys in the line. To hide their power from detection, the Prime Masters concealed themselves within armoured shells. The Solus Prime Master shell was based on the Decepticon pretender Octopunch, and could also convert into a weapon that larger toys could wield. Additionally, a silver and blue recolor of the Prime Master without the shell was available later in the year, packaged with the Autobot Monsterbot Repugnus. Comic books from IDW Publishing offered a notably different take on the story, in which Solus and the Primes weren't actually the first Transformers, but rather tribal leaders on prehistoric Cybertron, whose great deeds inspired legends about them. Here, Liege Maximo manipulated Megatronus into fighting Prima, leader of the Primes, rather than Solus, and Solus died when she rushed in to help Prima, and Megatronus impaled her on Prima's sword, the Star Saber. IDW stories depicted Solus as being especially venerated by the people of the Cybertronian colony on the planet Caminus, who built a religion around her. The most recent tellings of the Prime story have moved even further away from the tragic Greek myth of the aligned continuity, and dropped the whole idea of Solus dying at Megatronus' hands. For example, in the new continuity introduced when IDW rebooted their comics in 2019, Solus was one of the last Primes known to be active on Cybertron, and legend claimed it was she who was responsible for creating the first of the Transformer race using her own forge. In the 2024 movie, Transformers 1, Solus and the Primes were the rulers of Cybertronian civilization, defending their planet against the invading forces of the evil aliens, the Quintessons. But they were betrayed by their aide, Sentinel, who lured them into a trap and killed them all in one fell swoop in order to usurp their rule of the planet. Also in 2024, the Transformers Legacy toy line made a quirky contribution to Solus's history when it introduced Malleus Minotaurus, a tiny robot who converted into a blacksmith's hammer, who had served as Solus's personal assistant. Then, in 2025, the first true toy of Solus Prime herself was finally released, as part of the Prime-centric toy line, Age of the Primes. Based closely on her appearance in the Power of the Primes cartoon, the figure included her famous forge hammer and transformed into a Cybertronian off-road car, marking the first time Solus has actually been depicted with an alternate mode. The story of this series once again implies a version of the legend in which Solus didn't die, but lived to bring the Well of All Sparks online with her brothers. And so, whether it's in life or in death, Solus Prime remains a forger, a builder, a maker, the ultimate representation of the creative spirit of Primus himself. And those are the basics on Solus Prime. Share your thoughts on her legend in the comments, and be sure to subscribe and check out my archive for lots more history and lore from the world of the Transformers.